Hello and welcome to the Keep It Local Maine podcast, where we tell the stories of local business owners and Maine residents and learn more about what they do, who and what inspires them, their challenges, successes, and more. My name is Todd Regalinski.
And I am Kimberly Regalinski.
And we are the publishers of Keep It Local Maine, a local magazine that helps showcase local businesses to the people in and around their communities. Thank you for tuning in to our weekly podcast that you can subscribe to on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can learn more about us at keepitlocalmaine.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the links in the show notes. And now a quick word from our sponsor.
You are a Maine business. A Maine business. That means you're the backbone of our community and a force for good in Maine. At Gorham Savings Bank, we think you deserve a bank that sees your business as more than a balance sheet. Every Maine business deserves that kind of bank. Call, click, or come by to learn how we can help your business thrive. You're a Maine business. We're a Maine bank. Let's get to work. Gorham Savings Bank. Banking is believing. Member FDIC.
In this episode, we'll be talking with singer and songwriter Laurie Jones. Laurie is an American singer-songwriter that had been dubbed the missing link between Dusty Springfield and Tom Petty. She's been referred to as Chrissie Hynde with a folk guitar, and compared to Lucinda Williams and Sheryl for her Americana and folk-rock influences. These comparisons she happily and humbly accepts. Influenced by a multitude of styles from Tom Petty, Suzanne Vega, and Fleetwood Mac, Jones combines the craft of songwriting with her own unique sounds that range from rock to gospel. Whether playing her songs acoustic solo or backed by her rock-solid band, Jones delivers the lyrical sass and musical punch she has built her reputation on.
Welcome to the show, Laurie. We are so glad that you're here with us today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled.
This is great. So congratulations on the release of the new album, Dark Horse. So tell us, what was the inspiration for this project?
Oh, the inspiration. So that's a really good question right out of the gate. Gosh, there's so many things really are the inspiration. I mean, if I was just kind of, going to talk to you in a stream of consciousness, I would probably say, life just stopping in 2020. Everything having to get really, really slow. In all honesty, I had a really, really bad case of insomnia. Probably like a lot of people. During that time. And so I found myself, getting up super, super early, in the wee hours of the morning, and then deciding to write. And so, really, I think the short story is the inspiration came from stopping and just, taking all of our busyness and slowing down and like hearing a calling to write music and, sort of ignited the passion to want to write and then, and then so on.
That's great.
Now, are you normally kind of a writer? Not Night Rider. That's
Night
a
Rider.
TV show. Jeez. First time I talk on the show and I'm already going downhill. Are you more of a night writer or creative person, or are you more like first thing in the morning you have to get your creativity out then when everything is kind of clear?
I've always been a first thing in the morning. So if I need to write something, the morning is my best time. And so you might think of it as what maybe I thought, I was being plagued with, which was this crazy case of insomnia. It really became my outlet. And I just started, I guess you would say I started going with it and just thought, okay, I'm up and just sort of, saying, okay, what do we got? Let's go. What are we thinking about? And I actually sometimes would wake up and have a melody already sort of, on my mind.
So tell me about Dark Horse. So where did the title, how did you come to that title?
Oh, so the title actually came later. I didn't actually call the record Dark Horse until we were finished. And it really was an interesting question that we talked about a lot. Like, okay, what is this? Like, what is this collection of songs? And it really hit me on the head one day that the record would be called Dark Horse for a number of reasons. And one of the reasons being that my dad would tell me sometimes, or he'd like to, educate me and tell me the meaning of different thoughts. And he asked me one day, hey, Laurie, do you know what a dark horse is? And it's really the underdog, or it's that thing that maybe you didn't expect that actually propelled you. And so really, in short, Dark Horse is really the concept of this compilation of music that really came out during a dark time, I think, for everyone. And the other thing that I think that's really, really important is that, and now we're going down a deep road, is that, I had a dream a couple of years ago where this dark horse appeared in my dream. And, it's a long dream and I won't get into it this episode, maybe another, but the dark horse was there. And so it just all made sense in the end that this project was bigger than me. It was bigger than really what we intended it to be. We just started out talking about some songs I was writing. And then here we had 9 songs that were telling a truthful story and that ended up being my dark horse.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. No, I love that because as you were saying, dark horse, that's the first thing I thought of. It's just really underdog. I don't know why that came to me, but it felt like that. And I'm always rooting for the underdog. I'm like a cheerleader always for the underdog. So that's really cool.
Everyone loves a good underdog story. I mean, that's why Rocky is one of the most enduring stories and movies you're ever likely to come across. And a lot of sports movies and other movies have been inspired by that and follow that same pattern. And it's kind of funny when you're talking about the underdog, Laurie, because we just interviewed Dave Gutter for a previous episode not that long ago. It'll have been live at the point that this one goes live, but he had talked about himself, considering himself as an underdog and thinking back about other artists, other filmmakers, musicians. It always seems like there is this kind of underdog feeling to a lot of them, like where they either feel that way or they almost put themselves into, they kind of paint themselves into a corner or put themselves into a corner and then kind of make themselves fight their way out.
That is what it feels like. I appreciate that so much. That's such a great description, and that also just takes you, kind of down the road of writing. And sometimes you need to be in those places in order to be as honest as you can be.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because when you're in that corner, that really is all you have left is yourself and the truth and what kind of skills you have.
That vulnerability.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And if you think about, I think that just hearing that will resonate with so many people, because when you think about 2020 and where we were and so many people just spending time in their own corners and it really makes you sit with your stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, what are you going to do? You're sitting your stuff and you can't get up and get busy and you can't travel and you can't, do all these different things. So you're really forced to sit there and think about it. And so if you think about that whole time, we were all in the same boat. We were all sitting in the same corner as underdogs. And so I think, I'm looking forward to hearing Dave's work, because I think that a lot of us are feeling the same thing at the same time. And I think that is like such a God thing,
so cool.
that we were there all in the same time.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So from a technical and a mindset standpoint, even though you've kind of spoken a little bit about that, how is the recording process for Dark Horse different than other albums that you've done?
So different. So very different. For one, when we talk about just the whole idea of, putting a bunch of songs together and not really knowing what's happening with them, I didn't think I was making a record. I wasn't set out to make a record. I wasn't sitting up at 3 a.m. thinking, oh, I'm writing a song because I should go make a record. I was just putting them together. And then I was really feeling quite a bit of a calling that this was a story and that it was a story that I would want to tell. So the first steps really is, my friend Maimon Ernst, she's good friends with Darren Elder at Halo. And, I've known of Darren, he's known of me, and he's a well-regarded producer. And so we decided, let's just get together and talk about it. That's really the first steps. Let's just, sit together. Let's talk about what's happening and what this is. And, in all honesty, we did that for a bit. We sat together. We talked about what these songs are, how they were coming to me, what they were saying, and where I was at and what this was. And this went on for a bit until the point where, I can actually remember the day we were talking about it. And then at the end of the meeting, I was just so happy. I think we were all happy because we were making a record. This was this was a record.
That's awesome.
This was full blown happening. And from there on out, I would say the difference in the process is that it was just so slow. And I tend to be a very impatient person. And for me, like, I want to get going and I want to do things. This process of working, with a couple producers that I trusted, and they were valuing what I was saying and the message, it really forced me to go back and work on the songs. And some of them, I changed tempos. I changed things that the ways that I was saying them. And I was really pushed like to a new level. It was so good for me.
That's great.
So good, so rewarding. And, these production meetings went on for a long time. I mean, I know now how important that is. It's so important to have patience. And so, I was learning patience. I was learning trust to trust two other people with my material and my vision. And so, the short story of that is, after literally months of talking and really breaking down what this was, Darren and Kevin Billingsley went to the studio. You have to remember, we're working during a pandemic. We're going to try to make a record during a pandemic. So there was a lot of trust involved, and they took my vision and they put that to music. And, a few months later, I went in, did my vocals and sang those down. I mean, it honestly, when I say to you, it has just been an incredible experience to see what these songs began as and how they ended up. And then, the next thing you know, you've given birth to a whole record. It's crazy. And so, it's almost like, what I could describe to you guys is, the snowball effect, how they say you have a little snowball, you roll it down over the hill and it gets bigger and bigger. That's what making a record's like. It's like, okay, I have some songs and now we're making a record.
That's so
wow,
cool.
We're full blown into it. And then we have something that we believe in. Like, wow, we really think we have something here and have something to say. And so, I mean, you both know as well as I do, there's a whole business side of the music business as well, which isn't as fun as all those other things I was talking about. And so now here we are. We're like, the record is out. And and there's just so much behind that. And I appreciate you asking these questions, because they're such good questions.
So I have this question and wanting to ask this. So it literally is like, you've just given birth to this thing, right? So do you have a specific song? I know they're all your children. They're all your children, and you're supposed to love them all the same, right?
Yeah.
But is there one that might be a little more of a favorite child?
Yeah, because those children all have their own characteristics, right? There's one song in particular that sticks out to me, and it may be one of my favorite children because of the way that it was downloaded. And it's a song called Good Man. And it's the fourth track on the CD. And I'll give you the reasons for that. One of the reasons is the way that the song dropped was, I didn't do that. I woke up early one morning and I came downstairs and literally I wrote the song in like 2 minutes. I didn't do that. It was downloaded and given to me. And the song is, it really is the pivotal turning point in the record, where it takes you, let's say, from, I don't know, the sweet spot to the more antagonist place. So it's the pivotal turning point, and it's just, it was quick, it was sweet, it was automatic, and it's probably my favorite song because of the simplicity, however, with such impact. And you really have to listen to that to probably understand. But I have a lot of special songs on there, but Good Man is very special.
I can't wait.
So how did your musical journey start? How did you pick up the guitar? How did you start singing? How did that whole thing work for you?
Honestly, how it all started was with a hairbrush in my hand. And I think, for real. So it's like with the guitar in my hand, look, I wish it was cooler than that. Like, I wish it was cooler than a hairbrush is what I'm trying to say. No, the memory is my family putting me on the coffee table with a hairbrush and like sing and go for it. And I would entertain my family. My brothers and sisters will tell me how like I could stand up in the middle of the dinner table and sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And, they would get in trouble for not asking to be excused. But I could do whatever I wanted. So it really started there, getting more into like the seriousness of the business part of it when I want to say 12. I could sing, and my grandmother used to take me, to be on shows and things. And when I was 12, I spent the summer actually touring with a country band when I was 12.
Oh, wow.
Throughout Canada. I know. And singing like Anne Murray songs and
oh my gosh.
Everly Brothers. And we were having a blast. And
That's
so,
awesome.
yeah, that was at 12. So that was pretty exciting when I think back now. And then it, turned into being in high school and playing with a rock band. And I remember I grew up down east. And so I had a band when I was in high school, and I played with them for about 4 or 5 years. I mean, it was good. I mean, and that's when I really started writing, because, I was playing songs that sometimes I felt like, I want to play my own songs. I'm getting sick of playing these covers. And so, yeah, I guess really the short answer, you guys, is, I don't really know a time when I wasn't in some way in this.
Yeah. It's just been there from kind of the beginning, you feel like.
Yeah. Music's been just so, so important.
Yeah, at the age of 12, that must have made for one killer. Like, what did you do this past summer?
I know.
Like, you must have just like wiped the floor with everybody.
Yeah, at the time, I think I was pretty quiet about it. I don't know if I didn't think it was cool, but yeah, that's what I was doing. And it was televised too sometimes, and so,
gosh.
yeah, it was crazy, really. I mean, when I'm thinking back now, and so I see pictures sometimes of me like in my fringe jeans and my fringe like jacket. I thought I was so cool. And, looking back now, it's pretty incredible. And I want to add something to that is my really, really good friend, Walter Howland, who's been playing bass with me for decades. He also was on that country tour with his family.
Oh, my gosh.
I know. We both were like little kid stars.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, that's craziness.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. So what musicians, singers, writers, and artists have really had the most influence on you?
There's so many. There's so many. So it changes for me a lot, because I just really listen to such a variety of music. It's so diverse. But I mean, of course, when I think back to just the classic rock, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, of course. As far as the writing goes, I'm a big fan of Suzanne Vega. I love her writing. Tori Amos. I would say over the last summer when I started writing this record, I was listening to a lot of 70s, even soft pop at the time. I was listening to America. I was listening to Crosby, Stills and Nash, Neil Young. We could actually this whole show, I could just tell you every musician I like, because there's so many. I mean, I love everyone. Seriously, in my house, literally everything is playing. I think for this record, some of the reviews we're getting back, Sheryl Crow, Lucinda Williams, Tom Petty, some really heavy hitters that I am just like super, super, super stoked to even be compared to.
Yeah, I can hear a little bit of several different influences in the songs that I've listened to, and it is kind of funny because I'm like, okay, yeah, there's a little Tom Petty there. Oh yeah, there's a little of this, there's a little of that, and and it's so great that when you're listening to somebody to be able to play that little game, I think. And to kind of be like, okay, let me see if I can trace back this person's musical family tree.
I love that, Todd. I think that's a great idea for even a podcast show.
Yes.
Actually, you know what? Maybe I'm going to write that one down.
Here you go.
I actually just really, you don't even know like how much I appreciate that observation, because that might be the first time someone's ever said that to me. But I really love the observation that you listen and you can almost pick out the influences yourself, or just say, okay, where is this going? Because Todd, I think you could appreciate this because I know that you're a musician, and that is that sometimes we almost subconsciously, is that the word I'm looking for? But we're not even aware that we're channeling that, influence. And then yet looking back, you'll listen to it and go, oh yeah, now I get that.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it takes an outside perspective, whether you're talking about music, even if you're talking about business. Someone's saying, "Oh, your business reminds me of," or "Your way of doing this reminds me of," and you think about it, you're like, "Gee, I didn't know I might have outright stolen that idea."
It's so true.
really
Oh
hope
my
I don't get in
gosh.
trouble for that.
I know. It's so true though. It's like, oh, I have to tell you this though, because you would probably find this interesting. Sometimes when I'm writing and like if a melody drops, I have to actually sort of think it over for a while and think, now, is that my song or did I just rip that off from somebody? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So-
and I've heard a story of that happening to Billy Joel. So I mean, there's no shame in that. He was playing. I think I want to say it was Anthony's song, and he was
Okay.
playing the original track for that. And Liberty DeVito, his drummer, turned to him and he's like, "That's Neil Sedaka." And he's like, "Oh my God, it is! I've got to change that immediately now."
Oh my gosh.
Just wholesale ripped off the melody and then had to change it.
Wow.
So you're in good company.
Yeah, you need backup sometimes. You need backup. You need to play that stuff out and somebody say, nope, that's not your song. Nice try.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which can be good because at least, if you're going to steal, steal from the best.
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
So what is your songwriting process like? Do you have a specific process that happens kind of you follow all the time, or is it individual to the song?
Well, at one point, I probably would have told you, it usually starts with guitar in hand. Typically would start with me strumming and coming up with different chord progressions and then humming out a melody. Mm-hmm. That would have been a way that I had written. This Dark Horse, it was totally different. I was hearing melodies before I sat down.
Oh, wow.
And I would find myself recording into my phone melodies. And, sometimes I'll hear a melody and I'll just hum it out into the phone at that time, because you have to capture it because you're going to forget it.
Right.
I'm going to forget it and then I'm going to hate myself. So, and then I revisit it and say, what was that? And so this last time it was more channeling. We call it downloading. We can call it that. Downloading different lines. Sometimes it was lines. And, when I tell you, I woke up in the night one night and literally I was hearing, "The wicked witch is dead. I'm sorry, I'm still dead." That's it. And it was just
cool.
like kept going and going and going. And I was like, okay, I guess we're going to go write this thing. So that was one way that it happened. And that was really interesting because then that got added into like an already sort of song that was in process. So, I wish I had a rhyme or reason, or there's no method. It's just what I think is being able to stop and acknowledge this is happening. And I want to receive this because this is important. And, when I go back to talk about, we were probably too busy before. I was probably too busy before to tap into that. And what a shame. And this pandemic really forced me to be able to just tap into that in a new way. So Todd, that probably didn't even answer your question.
No, it did.
Totally did.
The more I've learned about songwriting and kind of just writing in general, it seems that, well, actually, I think more songwriting than normal writing. But for songwriting, the most prolific songwriters seem to have multiple tools in the toolbox. And one of them is like that butterfly net where they're just, you got to grab that and the thing starts running away from you, flying away, and you've got to go and catch it. Because like you say, if you don't get it, it's going away. I did that when I was writing questions for this podcast. When we were writing down our questions, I was typing things out. I'm like, wait a minute, what was that question? It was good. Wait, no, where'd it go? And I freaked out for about 5 minutes walking around my office going, that was a good question.
Yeah.
What? And I finally managed to, it came back to me, but I was like, I was having a minor panic attack. I'm like, I hope that wasn't like the question that's going to make the interview.
Yeah, I think it sounds like you were just in this place of being quiet and listening.
Yeah.
And that the pandemic really forced a lot of people to sit in that quietness.
Yeah, because then you could hear those things that are trying to escape, and you actually have a few moments of quiet to try and chase them down.
Yeah, and the other thing, and I love that, like what you just said. The other thing is that when it gets quiet and it's quiet enough, you're going to hear maybe things that were there before that you just weren't willing to hear.
Right. Yeah.
Totally.
So how does living in Maine affect your music, and how do you balance music with career?
I think that living in Maine is a benefit. I've had these conversations lately with other people that are in the music business that don't live in Maine. I think it has its benefits in lots of ways. For one, it's beautiful here. I mean, I feel so fortunate. I get to, go take a walk on the beach, and I can really clear my head. And sometimes I have to go to walk the beach even just to come up with maybe a press release I need to write. I need to come up with copy. I need to clear my head, like social media content, and I can go to the beach and I can get ideas just walking. And the other thing is, I think the benefits of living in Maine as a working musician, or, in this case, writing, is that we're in a smaller pool. I feel like we play nice in the sandbox here. I do. I feel that. I feel like we're all willing to help each other, and that we want to see each other succeed. And I just think that we may not have that if we were, even myself, if I was living perhaps in a city where, everyone's out to do the same thing. And although I think I would appreciate that, I like the idea that we can just be good old Mainers too,
Yeah.
And, as a business person, I think it has its benefits too, because, it's not such a crowded pool. And the other thing I think I've learned about this too, I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, is that I didn't set out to do this, or I don't do this because I think that some miraculous thing's going to happen on a business standpoint, or, like I'm going to, whatever that is, whatever people aspire to. I just think that, I put out this record and I'm pushing it, and I'm going to work it just as hard as I can, because I really believe in these 9 songs and where they came from. And so that's the difference too, because, I own my own business. I run my own show, and I don't have, a bunch of fiscal agents knocking on my door, calling me and saying, hey, where's this? Where's that? I do this on my own time frame, my own business plan. And so owning this thing and living right here, like in beautiful Maine, it's just, it couldn't get any better, I don't think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So one of the questions we kind of standard like to ask, how do you define success?
I think really how I define success, that goalpost keeps moving. And if you would ask me that question probably back in the winter, I would say my definition of success is that I finished these songs and we're tracking them, and that we're making a record. Success then is that we finished it and we were true to it, and it's honest, and I can stand by every note that I sang, every word that I said. I stand by every single thing. And that's successful. And now when I think about the record overall and what we're trying to do, success will be for me that people will hear this music, and that somehow, some way it will resonate with them, and they will see themselves. They will see themselves in these words.
I love that. So we are professed, is that the right word I want?
Sure, go with it.
Inspiration junkies. And so we love to know what inspires people. So who or what inspires you?
I like inspiration junkies. I like that a lot. I want to just hashtag that all day. We're all going to hashtag this. Who or what inspires me? Real life, overcomers, badass women inspire me, inspire the heck out of me. A good comeback story, like Todd said before. I love a good comeback story. That inspires me. Truth telling, people being honest, raw, being able to not really care, but understand that the story is important and willing to be brave and tell the story. That inspires me. And being bold. Bold people that are truthful inspire me.
I love that. Yeah.
That's a lot packed right into that one.
It is. Hashtag inspired by.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you, Laurie, for taking time out of your day, for sharing your story with us. And we so appreciate your time. And we also want to encourage everybody to go and to download or to purchase Dark Horse. I will have links for all of the download and streaming options, and where it will be available for physical copies as well. And also be sure to check out Laurie's upcoming shows that are coming up and go and see her. And thank you again so much for being with us.
Yes, thank you so much. This is so exciting.
Thank you. I had a blast. Can't we just keep going? No,
I know.
you guys. No, seriously, I had a blast. I'm so grateful that you invited me. It's just had a great time. Thank you so much.
We wish you all the success with this, and that it changes many lives.
Thank you.
Once again, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Gorham Savings Bank, and encourage you to check them out through the link in the show notes. And thank you again for listening.